A Discourse of Redeeming the Time by Hezekiah Burton. Of the second proposition, Ephesians chapter 5 verse 16, quote, redeeming the time, because the days are evil, end quote. We ought to make the best of bad times when we fall into them. From those words, Ephesians chapter 5 verse 16, quote, redeeming the time, because the days are evil, end quote. I proceed to suggest some few of those many useful and excellent things which are contained in these words, and to which they lead us naturally and easily in this plain method. First, we will consider what time, season, or opportunity is in general, and what in particular was that season which St. Paul here means, and also what is the import of redeeming the season. Secondly, I will offer some reasons why we should redeem the season, and particularly consider that which is here expressed, quote, the days are evil, end quote. Thirdly, I will mention some of those things which rob us of our time and deprive us of the season, which St. Paul here exhorts us to make our own. Fourthly, I will exhibit some of those advices and directions whereby we may be assisted in redeeming this time or season. Of the first, season or opportunity, which is the English of kairos, signifies time of action, i.e., such a concurrence of all the causes as makes the doing of any work easy and gives hope of success, when there is such a confluence of causes without, that if we will do what is in us and cooperate with them, we shall probably not fail to bring what we design to effect. Thus a good vessel and pilot, wind and tide, make an opportunity for us to be conveyed to such a place, and if we be but willing to use them to this purpose, they are likely to bring us thither, whereas if we would go, when we are not favoured and helped by such causes, we shall either not at all, or very hardly, and with much more pains and difficulty, come to our journey's end. To this it will not be amiss to add that opportunity does not only signify the presence of those things without us, which contribute towards the producing an effect, but also the disposition and fitness of our own faculties to cooperate with them. For if they be in an incapacity, all external causes will not make an opportunity. As if a man be sick that he cannot safely go by water, all the tide and wind, etc., do not make it a season for him to go. And if we take in all this into our notion of opportunity, in common speech we do not say that a man has an opportunity of doing an ill thing, though it is true that external things may so far concur with an ill mind that they may make it easy to perpetuate some bad work, as we say, quote, occasion makes a thief, end quote. But if we understand, as generally we do, by opportunity, a concurrence of the causes without us, with our own faculties, then we never say that a man has opportunity of doing that which is evil. It either is or is thought good, either by us or by him that does it, which shows that even the community of men, who make words signify as they please, do suppose that our faculties were not designed or framed to do evil things, nor are ever properly and truly fit to do anything but good, and therefore we can do nothing which we do not think so. This observation I think to be true. If any be of another mind, and that opportunity or season is applicable indifferently to good or bad purposes and practices, yet I suppose it will be granted that the Apostle in this place intends the time or season of doing good actions, such as are fit and becoming, profitable and beneficial, such as will be honourable to God and give a reputation to Christian religion, helping forward our own and others' happiness, so that St. Paul exhorts us here, quote, to redeem the time, end quote, of doing all that good which the gospel requires, of living that excellent life, and practicing all those virtues which are agreeable to the dispensation of Christianity, of doing all those good works here on earth, which by our perfect institution we are assisted and obliged to do. And if this be the action that St. Paul means, it will not be hard to find out the causes which, when they concur, make it a good season for doing thus, when it will be more easy to live well, and we may, probably, be more successfully good, and attain all the ends of our excellent religion. Now, a constant firm health, a competent provision of the necessaries and conveniences of life, freedom from slavery and long restraints, for the most part to live in society, a state of peace and quiet, of good will and amity with men, and an abode here on earth till age has made us useless, these are the things which we commonly and truly think do all conduce to this purpose. But yet I dare not say that such a condition would be best for all men. Experience proves to us undeniably that a mixture of good and evil is best for the generality of men in this state. To have a dash of adversity, nay, to be in a more depressed condition, may, I believe, be generally better for us. Some men are good in sickness or in want, who, if they enjoyed their health or lived in abundance, would not be so. Nay, I doubt not but this is true of the community of mankind, and that the wise and good providence that rules all things has so ordered it that the far greatest part are poor or sick or under restraint or have enemies or do not live long, because he sees it necessary to keep them under this sharp discipline, and for this reason, that hereby they may be trained up to be and to do good, and kept out of those temptations which would be irresistible to them, and so preserved from doing those wickednesses which would make them liable to the unalterable justice, and beget such a disposition in them as might endanger their being irrecoverably bad and miserable. I cannot but think that these evils are medicinal and good antidotes, which the wise and good physician makes use of for curing the worst of diseases in some and preventing them in others. Nay, that even very good men have found it good for them to, quote, be thus afflicted, end quote. So David tells us. So Job and other the best of men in former ages. Yea, the Son of God himself, and his first and best followers were persecuted by men and afflicted by God in the worst of these instances. By all this I am convinced that even poverty and disgrace and such other calamities do not only contribute to bad men's becoming good, but to good men's being better, by giving them an opportunity for the exercise of some virtues which would have had no place in a prosperous state and are necessary to our perfection. But though I grant all this, yet considering the imperfection of the best of men, and the necessity of health, and liberty, and plenty, and peace, to enable them for those works which are proper and useful in this state, and to complete their virtue, which can never be unless they pass through varieties of conditions, I can't but look on these things as conducing to the good life of Christians. However, these things may not facilitate the practice of virtue to all men, yet they will to such as know how to use their time. 'Tis best such should be at liberty, and that they who know how to employ an estate should have one, and if they be disposed to do something better than drudge for the body, that they should not be taken up with providing for that. And such real Christians are, and if they who pretend to be Christians were, I do not doubt but it would be thus with the generality. Thus much I thought fit to say, lest, from my explication of this phrase, any should raise an objection against that providence which orders all things according to greatest wisdom and goodness, and undoubtedly makes that the condition of every man which is best for him, either to help him to live well, or to keep him from living ill, to promote his virtue, or to restrain his wickedness, or, where he would not do well, to make him suffer, that so he may hereby become capable of receiving good from the hands of him who will recompense us, not only for the good we do, but for the ills we suffer. After all, then, it remains that a healthful, free, peaceable, plentiful condition and a long life may pass for opportunity, or such a confluence of things as makes it more easy for us to live well. Which may be farther evinced by this reason, that by being in this condition, we are freed from the importunate cravings of diverse natural appetites, which are hereby gratified and satisfied, and if they were not, would by their importunity disturb and hinder us in our pursuit and practice of goodness. This then that I have said, or part of this, or whatever it is, that in concurrence with the goodness of Christians would contribute to their doing that good to which their religion obliged them, was that season or time of action which the apostle here commands them to redeem. There are particular seasons or times of good actions, when there is such a confluence of things as helps to and in the exercise of particular virtues, which, according as there is need or reason for them, we are to endeavour to procure. Let us in the next place see what it is to redeem or buy this opportunity. This metaphor signifies that we must do something to make it our own, to bring it within our power, so that if we will, we may use it, and serve ourselves of it, that we may employ it to the purpose for which it serves, as and how we will. And it is supposed by the apostle that they whom he exhorted to redeem, buy, purchase, or gain the season, would improve it to the purposes of Christian life. So that this phrase intimates not only that we are to lay hold on opportunity when offered, but also that we must endeavour and be at cost to procure it, and that not so much to have as to use it. For if we do not use, we lose it. It is nowhere more true than of time and season, which is the best of time. Not to use it is the same as not to have it. Thus then, in general, to purchase this best part of time, when there is such a confluence of things that may be helpful to us in doing some good work, as it supposes that we will use it, so it signifies that we should lay out our labour, our money, and be at the expense, or suffer the loss of any gratification that is of less worth than that good which, by the help of this opportunity, we hope to do. And by this I have told you what is the price we must pay for such a season, when things concur to make virtue feasible. And the more feasible they make any good action or course of virtue, the more valuable is the opportunity which they give us, and its rate will be always more or less, according to the greater or lesser goodness of that action or life which it helps to. Nay, which may seem strange, yet so it is, that even life itself is not too much to give for an opportunity to do some one action, which may be so hugely beneficial that it is really of greater value than our stay here 100 years, and than all the good we could do in that space, if we left this one undone, could amount unto. Such I take to be the laying down my life for the sake of religion, or the service of our king and country, or of any one excellently good and publicly useful man. And it is unquestionably better to part with life, much more anything less valuable, than to do violence to and forego a good conscience in any one particular. I need to add no more to this general explication of what it is to redeem the time or season, but put you in mind that the phrase implies 1. That we are not to neglect, to part from, to lose, and forego it. But as Solomon says of truth, quote, buy the truth and sell it not, end quote, so I may say of opportunity, buy it almost at any price, sell it at none, let it not go, whatever you may have in lieu of it. 2. That we are by all means to avoid the doing good actions unseasonably, that is, where a season may be had, for otherwise they must be done, if it be possible, in or out of season, but when it may be had, it should not be neglected. This may suffice for the general, but if it be inquired what in particular the apostle meant the Ephesians should do, when he bids them to, quote, redeem the time, end quote, to this I answer, that I suppose he intended hereby to excite their care and diligence, to put them upon the use of prudence and caution, to employ all honest and innocent arts, to take all pains to escape those wiles and traps, those snares and temptations to sin, which were laid for them, and those other impendent calamities of which they were in danger, if they continued steadfast in their profession of Christianity, that they should be very watchful to observe, and in all lawful and harmless ways avoid all that might endanger their losing their religion, or their lives, or liberties for it, which would in part be a damage and detriment to religion, for they would hereby be taken off, if not wholly, yet in great measure from the practice of it, and consequently to themselves. However, many others would suffer by this, and the interest of religion would be weakened. And they were not only to avoid the evils, the obstructions and impediments that attended them, the mischiefs and dangers that were impendent, and whatever it was that might discourage them in, or deter them from the Christian life, but also they were to be watchful and diligent observers of the times, and with a prudent dexterity to strike in with, and serve their Christian designs of them, so far as could be consistent with innocence and honesty, that they should use honest endeavours, by the blessing of God, to preserve and increase their estates, take all harmless ways to procure or keep their liberty, take care, as much as they may, to remove from their governors all hatred and ill will against, or but suspicion of, them, behaving themselves so as to deserve the good opinion and good will of all men. In general, that they use their utmost care and diligence to conciliate the times to their religion, that they might both practice that and escape the evils of them, that their being Christians might not exclude them from the good things of this life and world, nor bring them into any condition whereby they should be hindered from doing good. Nay, that they should endeavour so to use them as they might be most serviceable to a Christian life, not losing any advantages to virtue which they offer, not needlessly and foolishly casting themselves into any such condition as would cut them off from or hinder them in their main business, but wisely accommodating their condition to their virtue, so as to make it a season and serviceable to their purpose, that though the, quote, days were evil, end quote, and very contrary to the Christian dispensation, yet they should take care and pains to gain all advantages which could be had from them, to serve and promote it, and to make them befriend it, that the profession and professors of Christianity might suffer as little prejudice, and receive as much advantage from that as was possible. Thus I have given not only a general but particular account of what season and opportunity is, and of what it is to redeem it. The sum of all is, that we ought wisely to observe and diligently to improve every season which the times wherein we are afford us, to do good. I say to do good, for 'tis in order to this that we are required to redeem the time. 'Tis not for the sake of time, for time lying on our hands is a burden, a torment. 'Tis not that we may have it to throw away, that we may be idle and unactive. For as good not be as not act, as good have no time as not employ it, nor yet is it to be laid out on vanity, and spent in trifling and foolish exercises, in being busy to no purpose. Much less are we to redeem time for doing evil, for working mischief and wickedness. This is the worst loss of time that can be. And if none of these things be admitted, then it must be in order to doing good. And this, which is the end of all that we are and have, and indeed of all things, may well be supposed to be that which the apostle intended. What I have thus variously expressed may be reduced to these three particulars, which I think contains the full sense of the apostle's exhortation, quote, redeem, end quote, etc. 1. That they should not neglect any opportunity which the times offered them, but strike in with every advantage, every season, and take every occasion of good that should be ministered to them, go with tide, and sail with every wind, that would carry them towards the port whither every Christian is bound, i.e., his own greatest perfection, and thereby his doing greatest honour to God, and promoting the best state of his brethren and fellow creatures. 2. Whatever evils they meet with, they should endeavour wisely to turn them into good, and of disadvantages and hindrances, they should strive to make them helps and furtherances to these good purposes, and thus serve themselves and the interests of their Christian religion of them. 3. Those evils which were unalterable and inflexible, and could not by any means be accommodated to comply with these good purposes, they should, in all prudent, honest, harmless ways, avoid them. This I apprehend to be the meaning of the Apostle's exhortation to the Ephesians. This I look upon as the duty of all Christians. I proceed now to the reasons of it, and shall sum up all in these two. 1. We ought, quote, to redeem the time, end quote, that we may do most good. 2. Because, quote, the days are evil, end quote. These are both the Apostle's reasons. Only the first is implied, the second expressed. And, indeed, unless the first be supposed, the latter will be of no force. 1. That we may do good, we must redeem the season. 1. I suppose none will deny, but that doing good is the work and business, the end and design, the very life of his life, and that all in man refers to this one thing. He is nothing, he is in vain, without he attain it. Nor, 2. Will it be doubted, but that we act very dependently on things without us, that there are abundance of actions, which are good or evil, according to varieties of external accidents, as they are seasonable and unseasonable, and that we need the assistance of other things without, for the doing of those that are unalterably good. How can I relieve my poor brother with an alms, if I myself be poor, and have it not? Or how can I set apart time for the service of my own soul, or of my friend, or for my devotions, as I think best, if I be a slave, and not at mine own disposal, if I be under restraint or confinement? The force of this argument is this: if our very actions, many of them, be therefore good, because they are seasonable, if the season increase their goodness, and make those that would be good out of season much better in it, for, whereas in that case there is only an agreeableness betwixt our actions and ourselves, in this there is also an harmony betwixt us and the world, if this be true, and if we also in our actions depend on favourable circumstances, and must be befriended by things without us, then we ought to use all honest art to gain the season, and to make things on our side, that we may still hold on our course of well-doing, though we have but one point of the wind to sail by. 2. Quote, the days are evil, end quote, therefore redeem the time. The former reason was taken from the end, this from the difficulty of obtaining and the danger of missing it, unless we observe this counsel. All, quote, times, end quote, are not alike, quote, evil, end quote, but yet, as our Saviour said, quote, sufficient unto the day, end quote, i.e., every day, quote, is the evil thereof, end quote. So there are no, quote, times, end quote, wherein there is not, quote, evil, end quote, enough to excite the cares, and to exercise the patience and diligence of every good man. There are temptations to sin, and dangers of suffering in all ages. Since man was first made, the old serpent, and all those degenerate men, whom that wicked one has gained to his party, have been in all times opposing and persecuting the good. Though sometimes the divine providence has restrained their fury, and they have been able to do less harm, yet the all-wise God has thought fit thus to exercise and try us. And because we are to live under such trials, it behoves us to take care that we do not needlessly run into the evils with which we are beset, that we prudently decline the traps and gins that are laid for us, that when a fresh gale blows, we neglect not to sail with it, that we dexterously strike in with opportunity when it invites, and not only so, but that we use our best skill to procure one, to make things serve our honest purpose, because if we do not thus, we shall be able to do very little good in our lives, since we are like to meet with so many difficulties and hindrances in it. Having thus argued in general for our, quote, redeeming the time, end quote, I shall now consider those three particulars distinctly, in which I summed up the meaning of that phrase, and shall give reasons for every of them severally. 1. Reasons why we should take every opportunity that offers itself, and be careful wisely to employ it, neglecting none. 1. If we do not thus, we do not comply with the divine providence. We do not suit ourselves to things, nor are uniform with the world. God offers me help, and I refuse it. He works before and would work with me when he gives me opportunity, but, quote, I regard not the work of the Lord, end quote. I reject his assistance. And what a thing is this to be said by God to man! I would have helped thee, and thou wouldest not be helped. I would have relieved thee, but thou regardedst not the succors which I sent. And yet thus it may be truly said to every one that neglects opportunity. And as there is a profane neglect of God's providential dispensations, in letting seasons of action slip by, so there is an unnatural jarring with things about us, a disformity and discord with the world. For they invite us to action, but we will not act. They have prepared our way, but we will not walk. All things else are in a readiness to assist us in some good enterprise. Only we ourselves are backward. What a thing is this, that the world, the things about us, should be more forward than man to bring forth a good work, that things below us should so readily give their attendance, offer their service, and invite us to it, while we, the best of God's creation here, shall be behindhand, when they meet together and, as it were, cry out to us, lend us your hand. Do you, our Master, join with us, and this good or that great work will be done. What strange perverseness is it in us to refuse? When things say, come, let us go to the house of God, or to the house of the poor, or to visit the sick or our friends, or to our closet, study, or shop, and yet we will not go, what a schismatical, contumacious humour is this, when we thus divide and cut ourselves off from the world, as everyone does that neglects those opportunities which things conspire to make him. That's the first. 2. The using of opportunities proceeds from a good principle, the losing them from an ill one, and this argues the one to be good, the other bad. For such as the causes are, the effects will be. The sweet and the bitter fountains will send forth streams of the same nature with their sources. Now, if we trace them up to their springs, we shall discover that all non-use of good occasions arises from such causes as these. Either men are ignorant what makes a fit season, or inobservant, or careless whether they do well or not, or slothful, that though they be jogged, will not waken, or over-intent and busy on other matters, as Martha was, Luke chapter 10, verse 42, when our Saviour told us she was troubled and careful about many things, which took her off from the opportunity she then had of hearing his doctrine, which her sister gave heed to. Or they are froward, and will not comply when things invite and call them. On the other hand, he that makes use of the seasons that are offered him must needs be a prudent and careful observer of things without him, diligent and intent upon doing good, sensible of his own insufficiency, and of the need he has of help from abroad. He must be a man of great virtue and good government of himself, a man of an excellent spirit, whose, quote, heart, end quote, is always thus, quote, fixed, end quote, so as to give no stop, no check to things, but suffers them to have their free course, stays not behind, but follows them to all that good to which they lead him. 3. Consider the effects, which are or may be consequent on our using or not using the seasons that are before us. Great good comes of the one, and as great evils of the other. Indeed, no man knows how great either may be. The bells call thee to church, and no more necessary business keeps thee from it. Thou goest whither not only the thing itself, but the season invites. Thou joinest with the congregation in prayer. How knowest thou but God is prevailed with by the hearty prayers with which thou art joined, and will bestow upon thee the greatest of blessings, the pardon of thy sin, the healing thy distempers, or may supply thee in what thou wantest at present? Nay, and these prayers shall be a stock laid up for thee in heaven, and be remembered a great while hence, and on this score thou shalt find opportune help in the day of trouble. Again, thou hearest the good word of God read or explained, and thou attendest to it, and art enlightened in some truth that will direct thee in thy way to heaven. Thou hast had some good seed sown in thy heart, which will grow up to eternal life. thou hast been persuaded of some good proposition, which afterward becomes a principle of wisdom and virtue, and is indeed the foundation of thy happiness. On the other hand, thou regardest not the summons to church, but either sleepest, or drinkest, or talkest on, or followest thy game, or that which thou callest thy business, as if thou hadst no other, and thereby not only neglectest to honour God in the assembly, but deprivest thyself of the great, thou knowest not how great good thou mightest have received. Besides, who can tell how many temptations, and snares, and mischiefs he has brought himself into, by refusing to comply with so fair an offer? Thou wouldest not worship God in public, and it may be thou art serving the devil in private. Thou wouldest not associate with them that call upon God, and perhaps in the meantime thou art got into a rout of profane debauched revellers, and art fallen into temptations from which thou canst never get free, but wilt grow worse and worse, till thou beest irrevocably bad. Thus the loss of one season may be the loss of happiness, and thy ruin forever. Take another instance. Thou hast a fit season of reproof administered to thee, i.e., thou by thy office, or by the rank in which thou art, the authority thou hast over, or the interest thou hast in some man, art fit to advise, rebuke, exhort him, and at this time thou art fit to speak, and he to hear. All things conspire to make thy reproof acceptable, and to give probability of success. At least, there is nothing to discourage thee from attempting the amendment of thy brother. If thou dost now strike in with the opportunity, who knows what good may come of this? It may prove the recovery of a sinner out of the snare of the devil, and not only the saving of his soul from death, but the benefits will probably flow over to many others, his wife and children, his friends and neighbours, and as many as have to do with him who has hearkened to thy counsel shall be the better for it. Thou hast by thy advice helped to reform him, and will not he take the same course with others that has been used with himself? And they likewise will propagate the good to others, and who knows where it will end? Thus thou mayest have done a kind of infinite good, by laying hold of an opportunity of reproof, and none knows but all this may be true of every one. Whereas if he neglects any one, he can't be sure but that then he might have said that to his offending brother, which might have been his reformation and recovery, and the omission of which may prove his utter undoing. For aught any man knows by his neglect of some, of any opportunity, he has lost not only one, but many souls. Thus we see how great good may come of using, and as great evil by non-use of opportunity. That's the third. 4. We must give an account to God of our opportunities, and answer before the great Judge how we have employed these talents, and be doomed not only according to the good we have done, but the opportunities we have had. He that has done no more under more and fairer opportunities than he that has had fewer will not then be able to acquit himself so well. Can he that has £1,000 a year, but gives no more alms than he who has 100, hope for the same favourable sentence from the righteous Judge? Undoubtedly, the more and better opportunities any man has had of being and doing good, the more he has to answer for, and according to his improvement or non-improvement of them will be his sentence. Quote, to whom much is given, of him will much be required. End quote. One by his learning and prudence and eloquence and riches and honour and friends and interest has great opportunities of doing abundance of good, which the ignorant and poor man, who has no friends, wants. And if the other does not improve his advantages of doing the good which he may, much more than this unlearned, poor, unacquainted man of no interest, he will not be acquitted by the judgment of God. 5. Our opportunities are but few, and those that are very uncertain, therefore neglect none. How seldom is it that things do so happily conspire into a season? Therefore we should make the best of those few we have, and welcome that which comes but seldom to us. If there be but one favourable wind that comes at such a time of the year, the seaman watches for it. He'll be sure not to stay behind. But besides, As the winds and tides of action do not come at set times, so they have no fixed periods, but are to us very contingent and uncertain. Now this should make us still more careful not to neglect them. For when they are once past, we know not whether ever they will return to us again. The wind goes and returns again into the same coast. The tides ebb and flow again after so many hours. But if an opportunity be gone, we cannot promise ourselves that we shall ever have another. I may add that as opportunities are but few and uncertain, so when they are very short and hasting away. All things are in motion, and no one state of them is lasting. They are perpetually flowing, always on the wing. Therefore make haste to improve them. Think not only what we shall do, but be as quick to do what we think. Not only resolve, but perform what we resolve presently. Put it not off till tomorrow, not knowing what a day, what an hour may bring forth. A few minutes may make a great alteration in either us or the things that make it opportune for us to act. And if either they or we alter, our opportunity is gone. Life itself is but a short and frail thing, and yet it is not one half of that is a time of action. 6. Some opportunities once lost are lost forever, are irrecoverably gone. Indeed, in some sense, all that are lost are irrecoverable, for no power can make that which is past not to be past. The guilt that I have contracted by such a neglect does continue, and nothing can now hinder that I should not have sinned. But this is that which I mean, that some opportunities are so lost that not only the same, which can never be, but none of the same kind, none like them shall ever be again. I part with a friend. He dies, or he falls distracted, or he has gone out of my reach. I had opportunity of saying that to him, which would have been of great use to him to have been told him. But now the time is past, and I must never more see him to acquaint him with it. Some such there are, of which we can say that they never will return again, and, which amounts much to the same, we cannot say of any that they will. I saw my friend yesterday, and had somewhat of moment to say to him, but I put it off till another time, yet am not sure that I shall ever have another. I might this day have done a kindness to such a one, a good office to another, but did it not, and it may be I shall not have another day to do, nor they another to receive it. Thus some opportunities are lost, irrecoverably lost, and for aught we know, all are so. 7. We have already lost much time and many excellent opportunities, wherein we might have done much good. Let this be an argument to us why we should lose no more, but readily catch hold on them, as they offer themselves. Who is he that receives the actions of one day, who may not tax himself either for his total neglect, or but half improvement of the seasons he has had? But alas, when we look over our lives, how ought we to be abashed for the many fair opportunities we have had of benefiting ourselves and our brethren, which we have most shamefully let slip? Nay, have we not abused and perverted them? Have we not only not done that good to which they invited and assisted, but done the evil which they hindered? Have we not hurt and mischieved both ourselves and our brethren, when we might so easily have done good? If the case be thus for the time past, let us by this be persuaded to be more careful for the future. Let the remembrance of the many good hours ill spent make us watchful lest we fall into the same guilt again. If the good providence of God shall give us new opportunities, let us not again foolishly and carelessly squander, or idly sleep them away, or frowardly waste them, lest we justly provoke God to deny us any more, which would be a most terrible judgment, and yet very righteous. We have lost much time, never to be recovered. Do therefore what may be done to redeem what is past, by double diligence in improving the future. Let me add that the time is coming that we shall wish for one of those many good opportunities which we trifled away. When we come to our deathbeds, we shall in vain call back those seasons. Let this consideration make us very careful not to neglect the least occasion of doing any good, because we shall wish we had not. These reasons may be sufficient to persuade us not to neglect any, but to use every season of action that offers itself to us. 2. I now proceed to the reasons why we should not only take opportunity when 'tis offered, but endeavour to make it, and to change the things that are contrary to us to be on our side and serviceable to our good purposes. Now, that I may evince the reasonableness of this, first, I will declare what is here supposed. Here are two things supposed, which, if they be not true, then neither is this good counsel, which is built on and implies them. But if they be both true, then is it necessary. They are these: 1. That opportunities are few. 2. We do very much in our acting depend on them. 1. The first of these I have already said something of, and I believe there is none who is not fully persuaded of it. For what man is he who sees not how short his life is, and of that little time how much is taken for the maintenance of it? And when we are fit for action, vacant for doing good, how are our hands held by things falling cross to us? We fall into company by accident, or are constrained by some occasions to be with such persons where we spend much time, but can do little to promote either their welfare or our own. Whosoever watches for and is observant of opportunities and seasons, he knows they fall out but seldom. He often finds things to be wind-bound, and though he fain would, yet he cannot stir. I do not mean by this to justify the lazy and careless in their complaints, who lay their own neglects on want of opportunities. For though we have not so many, yet we are not quite destitute. We have some, though not so many as the diligent man could wish for. Yet we have more than the idle will own or care to use, and sufficient for the doing that good which we are capable of doing, if we do but observe and make use of them. However, if the sum total of them be computed, they may well pass for few. If all our life were a continual succession of opportunities, yet that being so short and so interrupted, they are but few at most. This is the first thing supposed. 2. We do very much in our actions depend on opportunity. This will appear if we consider these three things. 1. Some actions are not good if they be not done in season, and unless they comply with and be suited to external causes and circumstances. There must not only be an agreement betwixt the action and him that does it, but it must also be suited to its object, and accommodated to things without. Reproof to an equal or inferior that is not by passion or prejudice so possessed as that what I shall say can make no impression is good. But when it is of a superior or an equal indisposed to receive it, 'tis not good, 'tis unfit and foolish, 'tis importunate and unseasonable, and it is the same in most of the actions of our lives. If they are not opportune, they are not good, and this I may say of all, that the more seasonable, the better they are. This is one thing which shows our dependence on a fit season. In this case, though we could do actions without it, yet we should not. 2. Other actions, though we may and would do them, we cannot. We must be helped from abroad, or of and by ourselves we can do nothing. There is no man such a stranger to himself, and so ignorant of his own insufficiency, but knows he has need of the concurrence of many causes with him, to bring forth a good action, besides the assistance of God's grace, and all those many things that forbear a man for action, and make him big with it. There are more still that must help to elicit and bring it forth. Though a man be never so wise, and full of knowledge, and though he have never so great a list to communicate it, yet, unless he meet with others, and those that are capable of it, he cannot do what he desires, and is so well qualified to do. We cannot do the good we would without the help, the midwifery of external causes and things, i.e., if we want opportunity. 3. Though we could, and should act without opportunity, yet our action would be very often without effect. For, in most cases, success depends on the concurrence of those things that make opportunity. A man would not have good designs and performances prove abortive, yet if they do not, he must be beholden to this. 'Tis this must bring what he does to good issue. As soon may a man make a voyage without a ship, or boat, or when he has one against wind and tide arrive at his intended port, as in most undertakings, have desired success without the concurrence of external causes. Though a preacher use his utmost skill and care to compose his discourse for the benefit of those whom he expects to be his hearers, yet if it so fall out that they either cannot or will not come to hear, or if they do come yet fall asleep, or talk, or their thoughts are taken up with other matters that they do not attend, or if they perfectly forget what they heard, or never once consider it, that is, unless things conspire so as not to hinder from hearing or attending to what they hear, from remembering and considering, at least, the drift and scope of the sermon, he labors without success that made and preached it. Thus it appears that we act in dependence on such a happy confluence of things as make a season or opportunity, and if this be true, and that also, that the opportunities are few which offer themselves to us, then it will follow that unless we will do nothing at all, or labor in vain, we must endeavor by our skill and diligence to make opportunities, to make things as pliant to our purposes, as serviceable to our designs, as is possible. If the mariner would never put out of the harbour, nor weigh anchor but when the wind blows full in the poop, he must lie still for the most part. And if we will never act, but when opportunity favours us with a fair and full gale, I doubt we shall be most commonly idle. No, but we must, when the wind is not with us, make it serve us by gathering it into our yielding sails, and when it is full against us, yet we must then take the advantage of a tide. The sum of this is that we must have help from things without us, both to act and to bring our action to some issue, and things without us will not favour our enterprises unless we use our best skill and endeavours to make them serve our honest designs. But when times are ill and things go cross to us, then especially are we to labour to serve ourselves of them and make them helpful to us. Secondly, this is wisdom to accommodate things, to make them comply with those good purposes which of themselves they thwart and oppose. It is wisdom to take the occasions that offer themselves, but it's far greater to make occasion and to work things out of an opposition or unprofitableness into a subserviency and usefulness to our undertakings. It's great skill in the mariner to sail with a wind that's within one point full against him. I am apt to think there is nothing we meet with but may be serviceable to a good purpose, and if we prudently and dexterously make application, it will be so, if not to one, yet to another, nay, possibly to that which it may seem to oppose. A man is very impatient of any check or censure in himself, but yet forward enough to blame and control other men, which often go together. In this case, to deal with this man, as Nathan did with David, to lay the scene in another place, and to cast the fault on another person, for he will not fail to aggravate that crime in another, which he would spare in himself. But when he has condemned another, natural justice will not suffer him to be so partial as to acquit himself, and thus, by a side wind, he comes to the place whither he was bound, and makes use of that which was in itself evil and a hindrance to help him to attain his end. He makes an evil thing promote a good design. I have said enough for my present purpose to show that it is wisdom to bring things that are cross to us, to serve us, to make enemies friends, and of our party, to make that which was a neuter and of no use to be profitable. This is great wisdom. It is both the effect and cause of great wisdom. It is the exercise and will be the improvement of it. It is one of the greatest and surest instances of wisdom that can be given. No man can give a better proof that he is a prudent, wise man than by making ill things serve good purposes. Therefore, if we would be, and show ourselves to be, wise men, let us, when things are not to our minds, nor will fall in with our designs, by our dexterous application make them pliant and serviceable, that others may see and admire this our management, and that both we and they may receive the benefits of such excellent wisdom. 3. To this I add, that to do thus is divine and godlike. This is the glory of God, that he can bring light out of darkness, order out of confusion, good out of evil, nay, the greatest good out of the worst of evils, so that nothing, how bad soever, has fallen out, which the overruling providence will not make to promote some most excellent design. He ordinarily brings about not only the greatest ends by the least and unlikeliest, but by the most opposite contrary means that are, and sometimes delights to walk in difficult ways, of all which I need but name that one instance of the salvation of man. Now then, if this be the glory of God, shall we not esteem it ours? Is it our perfection to be like God? Let us esteem it so, and endeavour to be like him in this. Create opportunities to ourselves, make them to be where there was none before. Let your contrivance bring them out of nothing, or that which is worse than nothing. That is, when all things conspire to oppose, and to hinder you from doing the good you desire and intend to do. Out of this very opposition make yourselves a season, and try to turn it into an occasion and advantage, which, if we do, we shall imitate that most adorable providence that accomplishes the ends of infinite goodness by the services of things that are adverse and contrary to them. 3. If we meet with things that are unalterably evil, and by no prudence or care of ours can be made for our purpose or to minister to any good action, we must then decline and shun them, remove ourselves from them if we can't remove them from us. The particulars when this may, and how it should, be done, will fall under the advices. I am only now to show reason why it ought to be done, and it will be sufficient here to mention the principle, and indeed the reason of all that can be assigned, and that is this, that we may be in the best capacity to do most good. For this cause we ought to walk accurately. For this we are to redeem the season in those two foregoing particulars, as well as in this. And it is a very sufficient and satisfactory reason why I should, by all prudent care and honest diligence, avoid those unhappy circumstances which will not only not help, but hinder me in doing the good which I might in another condition do. For this cause I must not foolishly throw myself into, no, nor stay in such a condition as that, if I can by fair means keep or get out. If I should do otherwise, I should do a vain, fruitless thing. I should not put myself to those good uses for which I may serve. I should violate the precept, and do directly contrary to the reason of the Apostle's exhortation of, quote, redeeming the time, because the days are evil, end quote, which certainly signifies this in part, that we are to decline dangers and evils, not universally all dangers in any ways, but only those that cannot be improved into an opportunity, either by our acting with or suffering under them. If one way or other they may be so managed as to give us an occasion of doing good, I do not think they are to be declined, unless it may be done honestly, to rescue ourselves into better circumstances that will assist us to do more and greater good. This, then, is the reason why we should shun those evils which we can't make pliant to our Christian purposes, because we are to employ ourselves to the best purposes. I might add also that to do thus is but a compliance with a natural inclination, which makes us averse from, suppose, poverty, disgrace, sickness, death, etc. Now, the design and reason of this natural inclination is that we should keep ourselves in the best condition in which we can be to do most good. For all things are good, and therefore desirable, so far as they give us an opportunity or help us to do good. And whatever it is that is no way conducing, much more that is an hindrance to it is evil, and it is on this account, and thus far, that we are to avoid poverty, sickness, death, etc., whatever are incompliant with, unserviceable to, and hindrances of our doing good, or living the Christian life, and practicing the virtues which our religion requires, we are to withdraw from and avoid. I have done with the reasons why we should redeem the season, which all rest upon this as their basis, viz., the great utility and necessity of our doing good, our exercising the Christian virtues, and the great serviceableness of opportunity or season, and indeed the absolute necessity of it to our doing good. Unless we do well and live the Christian life, we cannot be happy, nor attain the end for which we were made. Unless we have opportunity, we cannot do well. I proceed, in the third place, to show what some of those things are that deprive us of our time, that hinder us from using it as we should. But I will bring that under the fourth particular, the directions and advices. Some of these are general and preparatory, others are more particular and immediate. Again, some do more especially respect ourselves and our actions. Others do primarily refer to the things without us, which make opportunity. I begin with those that most expressly relate to ourselves. 1. If we would lose no opportunity of good actions, and make to ourselves as many good seasons as is possible for the practice of virtue, let us endeavour after a clear and large knowledge of all that is good for us to do, and strive to comprehend fully all that, which, in our several varieties of circumstances and conditions, we are in capacity of doing. Whatever good it is which comes within our compass, whether in respect of God it be honourable to Him, or in relation to ourselves it be perfective of our natures, or in reference to others it be beneficial to them, let us labour to understand this fully. The usefulness, and indeed the necessity, of allowing this direction appears at sight. For whosoever is ignorant in, or mistaken about, the good he should do, how is it possible that he should lay hold on every occasion of doing it? We may as well suppose one who knows not what port to make, to hoist up his sails, and make use of the wind when it blows. Why? He knows not which way to steer, and the other understands not what is the good he should do. He also is in the same case, who is mistaken, and thinks that to be good which is evil. He will steer a quite contrary course to what he should. He will watch for the seasons of doing that evil which he thinks to be good, and will force things to serve him in prosecuting his mistake. And this is so far from making use of opportunity to do well, that he abuses and perverts it to do ill. But this is not all I intend by this direction. Another reason of it is this, lest, for want of it, we let slip the occasion of doing some good or other. For he that understands not, or, which is the same, considers not, his duty to God, how he ought to go out after him in affection, and humbly and sensibly acknowledge him, he will neglect the many fair occasions of devotion that continually offer themselves to him. But he that comprehends fully not only that good which has man, but that also which has God for its object, will be out of this danger. 2. Let's not only understand, but also be willing and desirous of doing every good work. Without this, our knowledge will not suffice to engage us to let slip no opportunities of doing it. If there be any that we have no mind to, we shall be regardless of the seasons of them. We shall rather shut our eyes against them than look for them, rather run and hide ourselves away from than seek after them. Let us therefore always keep a willing mind to do every good work. What signifies wind and tide to him that is unwilling to take a voyage? If I have no mind to my devotions, what will health and leisure and a closet and all the things that invite me to that great duty signify? And though I have every day the same summons from things without me, yet 'tis all to no purpose. That season is lost upon us. 'Tis, quote, a prize put into the hands of such, end quote, who have no hearts to use it. Let us then be willing and desirous, and that in no low degree, but let it be our chief desire, or main end and design, to do all the good we can. For if it shall once obtain this place in our hearts, We shall then both take and make all possible occasions of accomplishing this our end. We shall lose no advantage that can be had. 3. Nor must we only be willing and desirous of, but ready and prepared throughly for every good work. We must endeavour to furnish ourselves so as we may be in a fitness of doing all that good to which any occasion shall invite us. For example, to defend the truth of my religion, and to give anyone that asks me a reason of the hope that is in me, it is necessary that I should not only understand that this is good and fit, and be willing to do it, but I should qualify myself for it by a thorough consideration of the arguments for and the objections against it, and I must, if I would not miss an occasion of doing so good a thing, endeavour to furnish myself thoroughly with all those abilities, and, if I would perform it well also, to keep that temper which will fit me for such an undertaking, and give a probability of success. Again, if I would improve every season of doing good, I must, if I be poor, and not able to relieve my necessitous brother, labour that I may have somewhat to give to him that wants, as the Apostle advises, i.e., I must take such honest ways as I can, and use such diligence, that I may, when a charitable occasion offers itself, comply with it, and do that good to my neighbour to which opportunity invites. The reason of this advice also is very plain, for though we understand and have a desire to do some good, yet, if we be unqualified, nor fit for it, the opportunity will be lost notwithstanding. Though a skilful musician have never so good an instrument in his hand, yet it will make no music unless it be well strung and tuned. Nor can we do any good, to which the fairest occasions invite us, unless we be strung and tuned, thoroughly furnished for such performances. Therefore our care must be to qualify and fit ourselves with abilities, and to be always ready for every, quote, good word and work, end quote, that none may come amiss to us, whether it be to convince, exhort, rebuke, persuade, or by innocent humour to divert and gratify those with whom we converse, or to hear and receive instruction from, and be pleased by their discourse. When therefore we have a comprehension of all the good we can do, and have a good mind to do it, we should likewise endeavour to be duly prepared for the doing of it, that whenever our good Lord shall, by giving us an opportunity, call us forth to the undertaking, we may not, by our unfitness, disobey his summons. For, to keep to our old metaphor, if the vessel be not rigged, though wind and tide serve never so much, they serve to no purpose. And if we be not ready trimmed, and our sails up, in vain will opportunity blow upon us. We shall still lie in the harbour, and make no voyage. Besides, by being fitted for every good work, if an occasion favours, we may readily strike in with it, as if things conspire to make it both fit and easy for me to be alone, that I may employ myself in thinking, reading, writing, performing my devotions to God, examining myself, or the like. If I must be in company, that I so behave myself, so hearken to them, so discourse with them, that, in one kind or other, I advantage both myself and them, that where I cannot speak to any good purpose in one argument, yet, if there be occasion, I do in another, and, where nothing that's proper and of use can be said by me, that I be silent, and as ready to receive instruction from others, as I would be to give it to them. There is no condition we can be in, but presents us with various occasions of several good actions. There are some virtues that are proper for a poor and low, others for a rich and exalted state, some for disgrace and disrespect, others for honour and being well spoken of, some for sickness, others for health, etc. If then we would lose no season that shall happen, we must be furnished and disposed for every good action. Our furniture must be ready. We must have it impromptu, within call, for else time passes so fast that it may be gone from us before we be fit for it. 4. If we would be sure to lose no season of well-doing, we must be sedulous and diligent, and in one kind or other be always doing well, and that we may be so. 1. Let no time find us idle and doing nothing, but ever be at work, Let no day, no hour, no moment pass by thee unemployed. If thou shalt at any time observe that thou art doing nothing, know thou hast lost an opportunity, for there is no part of time which may not be a season for some action. 2. Be not ill employed. Let not thy tongue be in motion to utter ill, to speak wickedly, to tell lies, to talk profanely or filthily. Let not thy hands be hasty to work mischief, nor thy feet swift in the ways of wickedness. Idleness is a loss of the present time, but to do ill is not only that, but a loss of the future too, for some of that must be taken up in undoing that which I have ill done. This is implied in this direction, that we should neither be idle, nor yet evilly busy at any time, but ever be doing, and doing good in one kind or other, which, if we be careful to observe, we shall be glad of all the help we can get, and so shall strike in with every opportunity that offers itself. And when we have employed all such, we shall seek for more, and endeavour to find out such as are not so open, and in some sense to make them where they are not. This influence will diligence in well-doing have on us, to make us redeem the season. 5. On the other hand, we must take care that we be not at any time immoderately or confusedly busy, especially in the lesser matters. 1. By being immoderately busy, I mean that we should not so wholly lay ourselves out on one thing as to make ourselves unfit for any other good work, that we can neither observe nor comply with any season that would assist us in that other, though it be better. For this I take to be the state that is best and most suitable to our natures, that we be ever in a readiness to do good as we have opportunity. And if we so busy ourselves in some one particular, that either by being too intent on it, or continuing too long in it, we are disabled from, or hindered in doing other good things, we are over busy. And of this we are to be careful in reference to season, that we be not so employed as to render ourselves either inobservant of, or incompliant with it. There are varieties of good works which we have to do, and there are seasons for every of them. Now, if we be too earnestly or too long taken up with one, or with some few of them, we must necessarily neglect the opportunities which we might have for doing the rest. 2. As we must not be more busy about anything than it requires and deserves, so we must take heed that we be not disorderly and preposterously busy, but do those things first which are in order to, and make way for, the other. Let those works be first done which are either necessary, or at least do very much contribute to the doing of others. Were these two things well observed, we should save abundance of time, and have many good opportunities, which by our being busy either beyond the proportions which things require, or without any order, we throw away. Labour therefore to bring thine actions into method, that is, give preference to the greatest and best, and do those first which make way for and on which others depend, and so do every day, begin with those things which will make way for the rest. 6. Often consider and be fully persuaded of the great advantage, and indeed necessity there is, of our taking opportunity. Whosoever observes how much we depend on it in our actions will be assured of it, and he that is will not only lay hold on it when it waits on him, but will with care and pains seek it, and endeavour by all prudent management to make an opportunity for himself. Remember therefore that it is season which makes some actions good that without it would be evil, and those that would be good without it, it makes better. It helps us to do some works which without such assistance would not be done, and those that might be done without its aids are more easily done with them. It also is necessary to give success to some of our undertakings, and it gives surer and greater success to them all. And if we are sensible that it is of this consequence, surely we shall not be careless of it. 7. Endeavour to understand clearly and distinctly the good or evil influences that things without may have on our actions, and of the several ways in which they may be serviceable or opposite, help or hinder our doing well. That is, understand particularly what advantages a man receives from riches in order to the practice of virtue, and what ways poverty does of itself, or may be made to, minister to it, wherein liberty is profitable to a good life, and how restraint and confinement may befriend it, also of what use the esteem and good will and good word of men is to our doing well, and how their contempt and hatred and reproach may be turned to its advantage. Thus let us acquaint ourselves with the advantages and disadvantages to virtue which are in every condition, and which are in all things which make or spoil seasons. This will be a sure direction, and a great help to us to make the best use of all things. Quote, "To everything there is a season," end quote, saith Solomon, quote, "and a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which was planted," end quote, etc. Quote, "And God has made everything beautiful in its time," end quote. That is, at whatever moment there is such a conflux of things as makes an action good, becoming, beneficial, feasible, that is the proper season or time of it. And how wise and good and happy is he that understands the season of everything and neglects it not. Now the way to this wisdom is to observe the influences which things without us and all circumstances have on our actions, and what effects they will have in conjunction with them. That what I have said hitherto, and shall further say on this matter, may be more clear, and so find a readier entertainment, I will here lay down the following propositions concerning time, and concerning the redeeming it. 1. By time, as I showed in the beginning of this discourse, we are here to understand season or opportunity as, both by the usual signification of the word kairos and by the sense of it in this text, is plain. 2. Season is time with reference to action, i.e., as it does not hinder and oppose, as it doth further and promote action. Now, because time itself has no influence, does nothing one way or other, therefore time is, by an usual figure of speech, taken for its adjuncts, for the things that are in and with time. 3. We are to understand the action to which the apostle here refers, not generally for any kind, but only for good actions, that practice to which our good religion obliges us. This time or season may be distinguished thus in respect of its influence on our actions. 1. It is then whensoever it is possible for us to do good, though it be difficult, when things do not necessarily hinder us from doing that good which, of ourselves, and in another condition, we are in a capacity of doing. This is the least that we call opportunity. 2. When the times, i.e., the things that meet together in them, do not only not hinder, but in some measure help on a good action, contributing somewhat to promote it. This is a better season than the former, but 3. That is the best opportunity when things do so conspire and favour well-doing that they make it easy to every good mind, when not only impediments are removed, and some things do cooperate with us, but the opposites and difficulties without us are so wholly taken away, and things do so universally conspire and join with us, that if ourselves be not, nothing else is wanting to our doing all the good to which our religion engages us. These are the three differences of seasons in respect of the influences they have on our performances. We should also distinguish them in respect of their good actions, to which they refer, i.e., they may either be opportunities, 1. Of doing all good indifferently, or 2. Of this or that good in particular, or 3. They may be general seasons, which yet do particularly favour and help on such or such particular good actions. They do not oppose any, but further some. And lastly, we may distinguish seasons from their shorter or longer stay, from their being more or fewer. All these may and should be considered by us, if we would know exactly how to behave ourselves in reference to the season, if we would, as we are here required, redeem it. From what has been said, I may fairly deduce these two corollaries. 1. Those are good times or seasons which do not hinder, but further us in doing good, living well and virtuously. 2. Those are evil times which hinder us from doing the good which we are otherwise capable of doing. Much more are those such which do facilitate the doing wickedly. Thus much concerning time or season. I proceed next to the redeeming or gaining it, which signifies the making it our own, and also the making advantage of it, and that implies and refers to the using it to all those good purposes to which it serves. For having and using are all one in Scripture dialect, this in general. More particularly, and as 'tis to be understood in this place, 1. To do that good in any time or season, which it either assists us in, or does not hinder us from doing, is that which the Apostle aims at, when he bids us, quote, redeem the time, end quote, and 'tis to be our design, when we do endeavour to redeem it. There can be nothing else but this intended, for if there were, it must be either that we should have time and put it to no use, which can't be supposed, or that we should put it to ill use, and this none will imagine was meant by the Apostle, and then there only remains our putting it to good use. 2. But that's not all. The doing good is the only end of getting, of having, and of keeping time. But it is the only way and means to get, and save, and improve it. As some things perish in the using, so time or season is preserved and improved in this use of it. Indeed, everything is then kept when it is put to the use for which it serves, and 'tis the only way to preserve it when we carry it on to its perfection, that is, use it for those ends for which it was made and was fit. Now, that this is that which we are to do, if we would redeem or gain the time, to do the good which we then can or can best do, which is most proper and feasible, or which is not impossible to be done by us, and that there is no other way to redeem it, will be evident if we consider that whosoever does not do thus, he loses his time. For so he does, 1. Who spends it idly in doing nothing, 2. Who vainly attempts, who does much, but 'tis ineffectual, and comes to nothing. He brings nothing to pass, he that's busy to no purpose. 3. He that labours but for no good end, 'tis not good that he designs. 4. Much more does he lose that season who employs it in evil works. Nay, 5. That time is part lost, and not husbanded, as everyone thinks it should be, in which less good is done than might have been done in it. Though a man has been doing well, yet, if he might have done much better, he is commonly thought and said not to have employed and improved his time as he might, and is supposed should have done. According to this discourse, doing well is not only the end and reason why, but also the way and means how we should redeem the time. And it is a plain corollary deducible from hence, that the more and greater good any man does in time, the more he redeems it. And he that does all that good in it, which by man can be done in such a time, he performs what the Apostle here requires most perfectly. He does his duty fully. On the other hand, he who does less than the times will suffer, or it may be help him to do, either doing some lesser good where he neglects a greater, or doing a part of a much greater sum which he might do, he does fail in his obedience to this exhortation of redeeming the time in proportion to his falling short of doing the good he might. The sum of all this is that he who so complies with things and times, and as far as they are in his power, so accommodates them to himself as to do the most good which they enable, or assist, or but suffer him to do, he does redeem the time in the Apostle's sense. And thus far the explication of it shows the reasons of those directions for the doing it, which I have already given, and will make the entertainment of the few I shall add more easy. Supposing then that we understand what is good for us to do, and that we are always willing and ready to do this good we know, and ever moderately and orderly busy, that we are sensible of our dependence on time and things without us, and that we have got a good knowledge what influences they have on our doing good, to oppose and hinder, or to father and promote it, which is all that I have directed hitherto, I proceed now to another general advice, which is this. 8. Take a view of all the good which men in general, or yourself in particular, have a capacity of doing, in respect of human nature and faculties. Set before you all in any kind, which one endowed with the faculties of human nature can possibly do, which is fit and becoming one in such relations and conditions as every man is, to do in respect of God, of himself, and of all other men and things, all that is honourable to the great Creator and Lord of all, that is perfective of human nature in a man's self and in other men, and conduces also to the welfare and best state of all other beings and things. Take a survey of man, and of all of this sort that he is capable of doing. Survey yourselves also, what good it is in particular that you can do, whether it be more or less than others in your condition. Now this is all summed up in those general heads of, quote, doing justly, loving mercy, and walking humbly with God, end quote, as the prophet has expressed them, or, as the apostle more fully, quote, living soberly, righteously, and godly, end quote. But this is not all I mean, that we should know all the good that can be done by us, but that we also set before us all the actions we can do, which are capable of being and doing thus much good. And they are our thoughts, and all those which are transacted by and in the mind itself, our words which convey our thoughts to others, and all our other mechanical actions, which directly or indirectly fall under liberty, and to which we may be determined by our wills. Consider well how fit and good all these may be, what is the goodness of each of them singly, and of all of them together. And that you may know this, consider what respects they bear, and in what order they are to one another, how one does prepare and make way for another, and consequently when they do cross and oppose each other. Consider also more distinctly what actions are the best, which are of less goodness, which are of most, and which are of least consequence. This will very much direct us in what order to do them, and in case of competition, which to prefer. This will hugely conduce to our gaining and improvement of time, that is, to our doing the most good, as I have shown. The sum of this direction is, that we consider, and that not slightly and seldom, but often and seriously, of all the good we can do, and of all the actions whereby we may do it. Let us hang a kind of table before us, wherein the good actions of our lives, the heads of them, I mean, may be fully enumerated and delineated in an orderly series. And let this be in our eye very often, every day look on it. Think of it so long and so often till you be perfect in it, and have no need of recourse to it, when your memory shall presently and easily suggest it to you on every occasion. And when we consider what we can do, we must not only think what we can do by ourselves immediately, but by other men and things. For though we can't by ourselves, suppose, persuade another, yet we may by some other that is abler, and has greater authority with him. There is none but may see the usefulness of this advice, in order to our doing good, in which men so frequently and grossly miscarry, for no other cause but want of this consideration. Though they know all the good they can do, and are willing and ready to do it, yet they do it not. They often do the contrary evil, because they consider it not. They act preposterously, and so hinder themselves. They do a less good, when they might do a greater. They set upon the end before the means. They do not the good they might, if they would but take a full and distinct view of all they are capable of doing. Seneca, I remember, gives this reason, among others, why men do so grievously miscarry. They seldom or never take all the actions they can do into consideration. They do not take a full view of their whole course and way, as they must, if they consult about it. If this be so necessary in order to our living virtuously, 'tis on the same account for our redeeming time, which cannot be done but by well-doing. this being not only the only end why, but the only means also whereby we can get and keep time or season. 9. Take also a general view of the whole time you have for all good, as well as of all those parts of time which will most befriend you in doing this or that good in particular. If we observe this, it will be a great help, for when we consider, in general, what time we have for doing good, we shall see the most we can reckon to be so very short, and that little so very uncertain, that we shall not be able to put it under another account than of possible or not improbable. We can be sure of none but what is present. This will make us very careful to inquire what is the best and most necessary of all the good works we can do. And when we have found that, we shall be as diligent to do it with, quote, all our might, end quote, and without delay. Quote, whatsoever our hand findeth to do, end quote, as Solomon expresses it, we shall do with our whole strength. He that is well resolved that he can make no certain account of any time, but of that which is, will certainly be careful to employ that to the best and most necessary purposes. And he that does this has learnt one most excellent rule for the redeeming his time. Let him also think beforehand what parts of time do most befriend one good action, suppose thinking, when it may be the fittest season for speaking, and when for other actions. When you have thus considered your time, think how you have spent it, and if you be sensible of misspence, for the future resolve on retrenching all your unaccountable expenses of your time, such as you cannot justify to God and your own conscience, nor to anyone that thinks everything should be put to a good use. Having then used frequent consideration, both of the good actions you can do, and also of the time you have to do them, and prepared yourselves. 10. Let your next care be to make and keep a serious resolution of filling up every little space of time with doing some good or other. Let it be your constant care and study to be always doing good of some kind, that no minutes be laid out on evil works, no time leak from you in idleness, no hours be spent on that which has so very little goodness that it's doubtful or undiscernible. Many of our businesses afford us abundance of spare time, which a good mind knows how to spend in divine meditations or the like. The naturalists observe that the same vessel, when it is filled with water, will yet receive bodies of another nature, and nothing more common than for one body to incorporate and unite with another. I am sure there is no time but may be more employed than it is, and very few of our good actions, the goodness of which may not be condensated, and will admit of others of other kinds, and more of the same. 11. Be ever inclined and resolved to do as much good as you can. Be not content to do a little, but design the most. Do not satisfy yourselves to do good only, but still aim at doing the best. By this means we shall crowd more of good into our time. The same ground well husbanded will yield twice as much corn as if it were in the hands of a sluggard, and the same time may bring forth twice as many good actions, if it be well looked to, as otherwise it would. Do as many good actions together as thou canst. Put as much good into as little room as is possible. Do every action as well as thou canst. Make it as good as 'tis capable of being. 12. Allot the greatest and best and first portions, the most of your time, to the best and most necessary works, those which most tend to man's greatest perfection. Such are those that are requisite to the getting and keeping a good mind and conscience, and such a plight of body as renders it most useful to the soul in all wise and virtuous actions, viz., consideration, being conversant in the Scriptures, in prayer, in Christian conference, all acts of justice and mercy, etc. 13. Where there is inequality on other accounts, that one action is not apparently better than the other, do that to which season does most invite. Things will most assist in the doing it, and give probability of best success when 'tis done. The reason of this advice is plain. because by doing thus we are likely to do most good, and in a shorter time than if we set ourselves to do that which opportunity does not so much favour. 14. Take the first time or season of doing a good work. Do not stay in hopes of a better, when, it may be, you may never have another. This is wise counsel in any good work, not to be dilatory, to procrastinate, but 'tis necessary in all those that are inwardly and immutably good and eternally obligatory. Let no conceit of present difficulty put thee off. Do not neglect a good season in an uncertain expectation of one more convenient. Say not to good works, as Felix said to St. Paul, quote, "Go away for this time, when I have a convenient season," end quote. Acts chapter 24, verse 25. 15. Avoid those things which are certain, and some of them double misspence of time, such as these. 1. Intemperance. Whosoever exceed the bounds which nature and virtue has set for their appetites of bodily pleasures, they for a space utterly disable themselves from using their time to any good purpose, and so they continue till by sleep or abstinence they are recovered to their natural state, during which time how many fair opportunities of doing brave actions have they lost? 2. Immoderate passion. This does so detain the soul in the thoughts of some one object that it is wholly inobservant of anything else that comes before it. Whilst I am over vehemently angry with one, I take no notice of another, whose wants would otherwise move my compassion. They do loudly call for my charity, but I am so deaf with the noise of mine own passion that I cannot hear. 3. Wicked company. Such will be saying or doing ill things. There is some danger that the infection catch hold on me, and by sorting with them I become one of them. Or if by God's grace I be preserved from running into the same excess with them, yet I may through cowardice or imprudence not rebuke them. By suffering sin in them I may bring it on myself. If I do rebuke them, it may be to no purpose. It is not likely to have any effect. Thus, if I be not company-proof, I shall be snared, and if I be kept from falling into their sins, yet I have lost some hours which might have been better spent in good company, or in my closet. 4. Courtship and compliment. Great portions of time are spent in these trifles, by which I do not mean those expresses of civility, which become us to use in many cases, but when we employ our minds in studying to speak words or use gestures that are wholly insignificant, that do not correspond with the sense of our souls, that have no truth on which they are bottomed, that are used with a vain, with no good, perhaps with an ill design, how idly, how unprofitably do they lavish away their time who converse together in this vain, trifling, false, hypocritical manner, who, as they are conscious that no credit is to be given to what they say, so neither do they believe each other. And to how little purpose do I converse with that man, whom I cannot think he means as he speaks. 16. Be very watchful of ourselves in such particulars which, if they be not regarded, do very much endanger the loss of time, as 1. Be careful we be not too prodigal of it in the gratifications of our senses, and the services of the body. Whilst thou art eating and drinking, take hold of devouring time also, and spend not those hours in sleep or in dressing thy body, which should have been laid out on thy better part. I do not by this put eating and drinking, sleeping and dressing into the vain consumption of time. No, they are all very allowable things. But this I say, that we have need to set a watch over ourselves, lest we spend more time in these things than we can account for, than is requisite for them. So long as they are good and natural, let us be doing other things while we are doing these. While we are satisfying our hunger and thirst, let us discourse. While we are dressing our bodies, let us be clothing and adorning and sprucing up our souls by wise and good thoughts and affections. But do not do this perfunctorily and by the by, for that's hateful, and a perverse piece of folly, to let thy soul have thy body's leavings, to do the work of thy soul when thou hast nothing else to do, to cast off thy refuse minutes to it, and to allow it none other, to afford it only the few minutes which can be spared from the services of the body. This may be an instance how the same action may be very good and very bad, according to the mind with, and the principle from which it is done. He that lays his Bible before him, and fills up those minutes with reading, and employs those thoughts about God's revelation, which need not be laid out wholly in dressing, and does this out of the great sense he has of the far greater excellency and necessity of one work than of the other, he does well in this. But if these little intervals of time be all that are given to the soul, and if he only cast off the shreds of time for the soul out of a preference of the body, this is hateful. 2. Beware of all diverting exercises. Those games which were invented on purpose to take off our minds a while from more serious employments, on which they could not be continually fixed, they after prove an infinite expense of time, and by a kind of witchery do so insinuate themselves, and excite our passions, and cause a tickling pleasure, that they detain us much longer time than we can spare from important business. It is wisdom in this case to resolve before we be entangled in it how long we will stay at such a sport, and to be sure not to break our purpose. 3. Compliance with general customs. Some of these are great devourers of time. We spend many hours, and 'tis but very little good we do in them. I do not bid you be singular and break such customs. No, I suppose them innocent in themselves, and by my care they may be so to me. All I advise is, that since they may not require a great or constant intention of mind to use them, we let out our thoughts after other matters, and lay hold on such advantages of doing any kind of good as are offered. 4. Civil visits, such as are made by those who are not quite strangers to each other, nor yet so well known as to be friends and confidants. I do not suppose these to end in mere tattle, much less in a saucy discourse against their governors, nor in slandering or uncharitable detracting from their neighbours, nor any such ill things as these, which is the worst consumption of time that can be. But if these visits stay in general and innocent discourse, yet we must be careful that too much of our little time, which more necessary things call for, be not laid out on these lesser matters. Let us also endeavour to improve these occasions to the best uses of which they are capable. 5. Curiosities. They are things that require much pains, and are of no great use. Now, if, whilst we are in pursuit of these, we neglect something that is more necessary, if things of far greater moment call for that time and pains which we lay out on these prettinesses, they prove the loss of our time, and there is great danger lest our curiosity should engage us so far in the quest of these things that please, merely because they are rare and odd and hard to come at, that we should not mind the seasons of doing far better and greater things, which, if we do, we lose the advantage in part, for we do not the best we might. 6. Conversation with friends. It is commonly said, Amici fures temporis, and there is some danger of it, as there is of everything that hugely pleases us, lest it should so fix and chain our souls to it, that they be not ready to fly away with the first opportunity that calls to the doing some other and more necessary good. This that I say is no disparagement to friends, and which, of all the things this world affords that are without us, is of greatest value. And there is nothing so pleasant, so profitable, nothing so truly honourable, nothing that carries with it a signification of greater wisdom and virtue and good nature than to live in friendship. And the more there is of this, the larger, the more universal, still it deserves a greater praise. It is that which, though I am occasionally fallen into the mention of, yet I can hardly forbear to persuade all men to enter into, and to preserve this most sacred league. Notwithstanding this, I must intimate that amongst the other miscarriages you may by occasion of it fall into, this is not the least, that the most pleasant conversation of your friend may so take you up, that you may be by this bereft of the season of doing some more needful good, which, it may be, whilst you are in those delightful transports you have in the enjoyment of him you love and trust, as you do your own soul, passes away, and will return no more. This caution should be no more prejudice to friendship, or bring us into any ill thoughts of that, than if it were, as it might be, applied to a greater thing than friendship, that is, devotion, or converse with God himself, which is the highest act we can put forth. Yet we may be too long in the mount. There are other services to be done besides, though none so great as this. 17. Do not thy actions by halves, nor so as thou shalt need to do them again. Strive to do everything as well, as exactly as thou canst. And though it may happen so, as that thou must do it again, however thou mayest be better able to do it than now thou art, yet this is all can be done to prevent it. If we have considered the reasons why we should thus take every opportunity, and be persuaded by them, we shall not only do thus ourselves, but also endeavour that others, that all with whom we have to do, especially children and servants, may do so. And for that end, I can't give a better advice than that we should bring up our children in some honest employment or other, not suffer them to live at large, to do this or that, anything or nothing, what and when themselves have a mind to it. And for our servants who are at our dispose, that we should take care that they be neither idle nor ill employed. Let me also add concerning friends, when we are with them, that as we ought to be careful that they do not steal time from us, so should we charge ourselves that we do not rob them of it, and by their civility and kindness to us, engage them to neglect their more necessary and important affairs. Thus far I have gone in general directions, how we may not neglect any, but employ every opportunity of well-doing that offers itself. The sum is, let us redeem as much time from the less necessary works, as is sufficient for our doing all those that are of greater importance. I now proceed to offer some advice by what means and ways we should make times that are adverse and opposite to become favourable and serviceable to us, as we are Christians, that is, to the Christian life, and to all that happiness which we naturally and innocently desire. And also, where we cannot make them thus pliant to our desires and purposes, how we should avoid those evils with which they threaten us. That we may proceed more clearly, we will consider what, quote, day, end quote, may be said to be, quote, evil, end quote, and what makes them so. And by this our way will be more plain, which we are to take either to alter or to decline the evil. 1. Those, quote, days, end quote, are said to be, quote, evil, end quote, which hinder us from doing or enjoying that good which otherwise we might. The evil of them is in such things as these: poverty, reproach and a bad name, slavery, confinement, want and loss of friends, sickness and death, the ignorance and mistakes of many, but above all, sin, of which there is greatest danger. For all the rest take men off from doing good, but sin makes them also do evil. If we be made poor, we shall not be able to feed the hungry, or clothe the naked, or relieve those that are ready to perish, which the rich man can. And if we die, we are cut off from doing or enjoying any more the good of this life. But if we commit sin and practice wickedness, we not only do no good, but we do that which is contrary to it, evil. We not only deprive ourselves of the enjoyments that are innocent and natural, but we, by this, bring ourselves under great sufferings and misery. These and such like are the evils of any days, and the divine providence brings about all the rest, except sin, either by natural and unseen causes, which we do not know or cannot resist, or by other men, who either master us by their power, or outreach us by their wit, or prevail with us by their authority, or lastly by ourselves, i.e., our own folly and negligence and wickedness. Indeed, the greatest evils of any times come from ourselves. And though men generally complain of the times, yet in many cases, if they would speak truly and properly, they must blame themselves, for they can't but observe that other men are, and they might be, very good in those very bad times, which they so much accuse. Our greatest danger is from ourselves, more than from times and things without us. For without our own consent, nothing can make us sin, and if we escape sin and wickedness, nothing can do us much harm. If we keep ourselves from doing evil, we shall not fall into the worst of all those mischiefs of which we are in danger from the times. 1. Let this then be our first care, that we do not make the days evil, that by our own ignorance and folly, our carelessness and viciousness, we do not bring those evils upon ourselves for which we complain of the times. Perhaps by your bad example you have infected others, or by your ill, or for want of your good counsel, some public persons are vicious, and their vices have had influence on the generality, and the age has been corrupted by this. And now you complain against the times, whereas yourself are a great cause why they are so bad. How many are there who should turn their accusation of the times against themselves? They have and do help to make good times bad, and bad times worse. They neglect their own duty, and do not do the good of their place. They are foolish and idle and careless and vicious, and whilst they are so, no times will be good to them. They will never find a season convenient enough wherein to do well. Such a temper as this will turn the best into very bad times. Let us therefore, in the first place, take care that by our wickedness and folly we do not change good days into bad, nor increase the evil of any time. Under this general advice we shall find most of, or all, those particular directions which I shall presently give. But supposing that the times are bad, and we have no hand in it, suppose them worse than, God be thanked, they are, as bad as in any age they have been, as we can well conceive them to be, let the generality be given up to all wickedness, not only debauched and sottish in themselves, but profane and irreligious towards God, and both uncharitable and unjust, dishonest and inhuman towards men. But let us imagine the wise and the learned, the rich and the honourable, to be hearty opposers of, and enemies to, the Christian life and spirit, and that they use their wit and employ their knowledge and their interest in obstructing the progress of goodness and virtue as much as is possible. Nay, not only so, but they who hold the sceptre, by whose counsel public affairs are managed, are violent persecutors of the cause and people of God, and of all goodness, and their rage is bent against every one that is like to, and a follower of, the Son of God. Suppose you be in a family where not only thy fellow servants, or thy brothers and sisters, but thy father and mother, or thy master and mistress be not only wicked themselves, but abettors of wickedness in others. Let thy case also be such, that thou, by being good, wilt not only be in danger to lose the good will of thy equals, thy friends, but of thy superiors. Nay, thy governors will be ready to punish thee with confiscation of goods, imprisonment, perhaps death itself. Thy name is cast out from amongst men. Thou art reckoned as an evildoer, and art thought worthy to suffer all manner of evils, which men can inflict on thee. Let this suppose to be our case, which was the primitive Christians. But God be praised, it is not ours, for we enjoy peace and liberty. We may be as good as we will, nay, and have many great advantages and helps to be good. Yet since we have so very long neglected, and misimproved, and abused them, we know not what calamitous times the divine providence may bring us into. Now that we may be better prepared for the making such times serviceable to our good purposes, and making the best of all these evils which may at any time befall us, so as to lose no opportunity of doing well, which they may be conceived by any care and prudence of ours to afford us, I will lay down some general advices, the sum of which is that we must endeavour as much as is possible, i.e., as much as is consistent with religion and virtue, to conciliate the good will of all men, to bring them into a good opinion both of our religion and of ourselves, to make not only our inferiors and equals, the generality, the multitude, to think well of both, but also to strive to approve ourselves, and to commend our religion to the rich and the great, to the learned and the wise, to princes and nobles, to men of all employments and ways, in all offices and relations and conditions. And that will be by doing those things which all commend and esteem good, by abstaining from those which everyone accounts evil and blames, by being of such a behavior as all approve and like. This, I am sure, was the counsel which was given to the first professors of our religion, to teach them how to carry themselves in those difficult times in which they lived. This is the sense of my text, and that which St. Paul seems particularly to have intended, when he bid them, quote, walk circumspectly, redeeming the time, end quote, and that they should strive after an excellent knowledge of the will of God, all which seems to have particular reference to the, quote, evil days, end quote. In a parallel place, which we mentioned in the beginning, the apostle calls upon them to, quote, walk in wisdom towards those that are without, redeeming the time, end quote, which plainly imports that they should have such a consideration of the extranei, the infidels, that by their carriage towards them they might gain from them those advantages and seasons which were requisite for their doing the good which their religion enjoined them. This is the general advice. Strive to adorn your profession, to commend yourselves by that which every man approves. Commend your religion, which you will do if you can but make it appear, and therefore give a true, clear representation of it in your discourses, and then it will carry its own defense with it. Every man will be convinced of its goodness, but especially show in your conversation the excellency of this wisdom. Let it appear by the admirable effects which it has on your spirit and behavior, that it is a most divine thing, in that it keeps you from doing that which is evil, and engages you to do that which is good and honest in the sight of all men. But what is that, quote, honest conversation, end quote, which St. Peter exhorts the Christians to have, quote, among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against them as evildoers, they might be ashamed, end quote, who did falsely accuse the Christian life. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 16. I answer, though it may be, some men are so greatly corrupted and become so much either brutes or devils that there is very little of that which is truly good that they will account so, yet I hope there are not many of those monsters, and that there will very few be found who do not entertain a good opinion of the men, one, who are innocent, which therefore our Saviour thought fit particularly to recommend to his disciples that were to be among wolves. Quote, be harmless, end quote, says he, quote, as doves, end quote. Innocence has a certain charm in it which composes rage and fierceness, and casts a damp on the fury of a persecutor. Hurt nobody in word or deed. This is the likeliest way to procure such safety to yourselves that none will hurt you. For who will be an enemy to him that is an enemy to no man? 2. If you would escape the ill thoughts and oppositions of men, be humble and modest. Do not aim at things too high for you. Do not undertake what you are not fit for. Keep within your own compass. Do not ambitiously contend with more worthy men, those that are more fit for a place than yourselves. Do not grasp at everything whilst you can do little or nothing, for such a carriage as this makes everyone your enemy, whereas, if your deportment be such that it shows you think of yourself as you ought, it will conciliate everyone's esteem. 3. To be mild and patient is not only in the sight of God, but of men also, very valuable. Quote, soft words, end quote, says Solomon, quote, will turn away wrath, end quote. And common observation assures us that nothing does so blunt the edge of a sharp anger as a meek behavior. If the man of fury will begin to afflict such a one, yet he can hardly continue. The edge will be soon taken off, and his malice grow weary when it is not animated and engaged by an angry opposition. The first Christians wearied the rage of their persecutors by their patience. 4. I advise to hearty and universal goodwill. He that would be hated by none must himself hate none, and he that would be loved by all must love all. Nor is good wishes and a good will and good words all that I mean by love, but all such good deeds as thou canst do, where thou art fit to give it, and others capable to receive it, counsel, admonish, reprove. Where thou hast an estate, and seest thy brother in want, relieve him. And by the way, is not this the likeliest course to secure thy estate? For when everyone knows that thou usest it to the best purposes, that thou neither oppressest thy neighbour, nor yet hoardest up thy treasure, but puttest it to the best uses, feedest the hungry, clothest the naked, suppliest the necessities of the poor, layest it out on some public works, who will go about to wrong thee of that estate with which thou dost so much good? Or if there be any such monsters, yet the generality will be on thy side. He must be a great and covetous tyrant, who will take away an estate that does so much good. And what man is he who will abridge those of their liberty, who make it appear that they do not use it as a cloak of maliciousness, but as an opportunity of beneficence? In short, the man of universal goodwill obliges all, and he must be very unnatural that can be an enemy to him who is a friend to everyone. 5. And when I have said, thou shouldest be loving and kind, merciful and liberal, I suppose thee to be just and honest, true and faithful, that thou wilt wrong no man of his right, withhold from no man his due, but give everyone that to which law and custom and equity has given him a title, that thou wilt keep thy word, and stand to thy bargain, make good thy promise, and be faithful to thy trust. If thou wrongest not other men, they will not lightly wrong thee, and by being just and honest to all, thou takest the likeliest way to make them so to thee. Give every man his, and this will induce all others to give thee thine, to do to thee as thou dost to him. 6. Be quiet and peaceable, not quarrelsome and contentious with your neighbours. Be united, and as far as is possible, live peaceably with all men. Be of one heart and mind and way. Do not disagree with them without necessity. And where there is disagreement in some, either opinions or practices, yet let it be managed amicably, so as not to cause a breach, a distance, but converse together, as those that agree in the most and greatest matters, though you differ in some. Make it appear that your study is to be quiet, and your design to live in peace. Let all the virtues which fit men for society, which are necessary to its being, and contribute to its prosperity, shine forth in your conversation. In particular, quote, obey those that have the rule over you, end quote. Obey them universally, where their commands do not interfere with God's. And where they do, and your allegiance to the sovereign of all the world challenges your obedience to his law, yet even there, where you deny subjection to your earthly governors, let this be done with that humility and quietness, and with that becoming reverence to them, that they may see it is not from a perverse, peevish, froward, humorsome, untractable spirit, nor from the scrupulosities of an anxious and unsatisfiable mind, that you do not comply with their injunctions, but that it proceeds from the clear and fixed resolutions of a well-informed mind, a conscience that is instructed to give God that which is his, and to man that which God has given him, which, when it shall be evident to them, if your governors have anything of humanity left, they will be inclined to favour you. By these and such like things, it came to pass that the 12 fishermen vanquished the world, and overcame all those seemingly insuperable difficulties, that the plain, simple religion of our Saviour took place both of the Jewish and the pagan. The excellent spirits and lives of Christians did more to the conversion of the world than all the miracles which they wrought. It was their virtue and goodness that made their enemies become their friends, and that put an end to their persecutions. It was their innocence and meekness, humility and love, justice and peaceableness and obedience, which got them favour with their governors, and procured them ease and rest, and all those things which an opportunity of doing good does imply. Thus we have a verification of these advices. We have seen an illustrious proof of their truth. They who have done thus have redeemed the season. By these ways they gained opportunity not only for themselves, but for us also, and that we enjoy so much freedom and wealth, and are not persecuted to death for our religion, we must ascribe to the innocent, holy, and useful lives of the first Christians. This shows the sufficiency of the advices I have given. When they were observed, they proved effectual. To these let me add some others. 1. Let us endeavour to be useful and serviceable to the public, that the place where we live may not know how to be without us. This many times has saved the life of a malefactor. How much more will it expiate a small offence? Nay, not only so, but this is the way to obtain liberty, to raise an estate, to gain an interest, i.e., to redeem a season of doing more good. 2. Do your own business. Meddle not with other men's matters. Be not busybodies. Be diligent to do your own work, that which your place and station requires of you. But be not forward to thrust yourselves into other men's affairs, lest you engage in that which you do not understand, nor are able to perform. This meddling where we are not concerned is a great loss of time, not only as it takes us off from that which we can best do, our own work, and puts us on that which we understand not so well, nor are fit for, but also as it brings us into disesteem with men, who generally think ill of a busybody, and thereby makes us lose that opportunity which their no ill opinion of us would have afforded. But if we take upon us to be governors, nay, to be superior to, and to judge and censure them, we, by thus invading the throne, and offering to wrest the sceptre out of the prince's hand, make it necessary for them to curb our insolence. Whereas he that keeps himself within his own bounds, and is diligent in his own affairs, he is easy and profitable to the government under which he lives, and no man can be angry with him. 3. Be not over-talkative. Quote, a man full of words shall not prosper, and there is a time when the prudent man will hold his peace. End quote. But if men in their discourses speak evil of their neighbours, much more if they blaspheme dignities and revile the rulers, they in many ways offend against this precept of, quote, redeeming the time, end quote. For, 1, they are doing evil themselves. 2, they, by this, hinder others from doing the good they would have done if they had not been slandered or reproached. 3, they provoke those against whom they speak and make themselves obnoxious to their governors. They have made it necessary that they should be punished in one kind or other for peace sake. 4, do not affect singularity in humour, garb, carriage, or any little things, but be like to and converse with others, and comply with all the old innocent customs of the places where you are. Where men do thus, they are not suspected of innovation, as the effectors of singularities are by the government. This, we know, was the way of our Saviour and of his apostles. 5. Be civil and courteous, and affable to all men, and where they either do not want, or you cannot do anything that's greater and better, yet be not wanting in these smaller offices. These little things, sometimes, lay no little obligation on men, and they will hereby be brought to a good opinion of you. These are some of those counsels which I would give, that we may gain seasons of doing well in evil days. But if things will not yield, or become pliant to our purpose, if we cannot, by all the honest arts we use, gain the good will, nor yet free ourselves from the worst evils that the malice of men may bring upon us, we have then but 2 things to do. 1. To withdraw ourselves from the dangers that threaten us, if this may be done handsomely and creditably, or if we cannot. 2. To encounter the dangers which we cannot escape with that courage and constancy of mind that becomes the followers of the blessed Jesus, those who have faith in God and believe them to be blessed, who suffer in and for well-doing. By this means we may make our deaths an opportunity of doing more good than if we had lived many years we should have done, and so shall, quote, redeem the time, end quote, etc. What I have said of the wickedness of the times refers to the wickedness of other men, which may endanger our falling into sin and will make us less successful in doing good than otherwise we should be. The directions which I have given are not sufficiently particular. It will be useful to consider very particularly how I should behave myself in this or that or the other difficulty, to follow the examples in Scripture, how my Saviour, St. Paul, and others behaved themselves before magistrates, with hypocrites and with open sinners, and in the extremities of dangers. It is not for me to give many particular advices. Your own prudence in present straits will suggest them. Only let me put you in mind of this: that you use no arts for your delivery from any evils which do not agree with the faith and truth and honesty that belongs to all men, which are not fairly consistent with and well becoming the religion of a Christian, the affection and faithfulness of a friend, the duty and loyalty of a subject, and whatever relation or condition you are in. 1. Resolve never unnecessarily to expose ourselves, our lives, fortunes, names, to the malice and rapine and censure of private persons who are uncharitable, or of public persons who are notoriously unjust or rigorously just. That is, avoid all needless, foolish, hazardous busyness, quarrels, and oppositions by acting or speaking about other men's matters, where we have nothing to do, much more doing or saying anything openly and directly against their persons, interests, ways, or opinions, when a more tacit and consequential way will probably do what you intend more effectually, not always railing at the supposed idols and false ways of worship which other men use, but taking fit seasons to signify our disapproval of them. Quote, neither against the law of the Jews, neither against the temple have I offended anything at all, end quote, says St. Paul, Acts chapter 25, verse 8. Quote, he that would see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil, end quote, 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 10. 2. Make it appear that there is no such great difference betwixt you as is thought, that you agree in many, and those the most material things. St. Paul showed that the heathen poets consented to and bore witness to the doctrine of Christ, quote, for we are his offspring, end quote, Acts chapter 17, verse 28. 3. Where you can't make this appear concerning the whole number of your adversaries, yet, if you can, do it of a part of them. Do this, and you will divide them. So St. Paul, quote, concerning the resurrection of the dead, end quote, etc., Acts chapter 23, verses 6, 7, and 8. But thus much may suffice for the second proposition, which I propounded to discourse of, viz., that Christians ought to make the best of bad times when they fall into them. I proceed now to the third and last proposition in the text.